Moving on, today's session, Understanding Google AdWords. Who have we got today, Lou?
Well, today's guest speaker, it's really exciting. She's a local, she lives in Farnham, and has provided marketing consultancy services to a wide range of businesses. But she's discovered a real passion for Google AdWords in 2014. As the founder of Ethos Metrics, she firmly believes we're not here to make Google richer. We're on the same side as our clients. And she sees pay-per-click advertising as the ultimate marketing tool, delivering trackable, measurable results in real time. Here to give us a real insight into Google Ads, please give a warm BiZHUB welcome to Karen Young. Yay!
Hi, Louise. Hi, Stuart.
Hi,
Thank you
Karen.
very much for having me here today. It's a gorgeous day outside, isn't it?
Cheers.
It is.
Yeah, and it's really great to be here, and so good to see so many people listening as well.
Yeah. So
Really good.
we're going to hand over to you now, and Lou and I will be watching. We'll be here should there be any issues, but we'll hand over to you. We'll switch off our mics and our cams now, and take it away, Karen.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, so today, let me just share my screen with you. One moment. Okie doke. Hopefully everyone can see that properly. As Stuart and Louise said, I'm here to talk about Google advertising, which people also call Google AdWords. That's what it used to be called. And it's a form of pay-per-click advertising where you literally pay for every single click that someone makes on your advert. So I will run through some slides today, and if you've got any questions, then please do pop them in the chat, and we can either come back to those in the second session if they're questions that need a bit more time to respond to. If they're really quick questions and I spot them, then I can answer them as I go. So just pop anything I don't explain clearly. If I use any jargon by mistake, then please do just throw that in the chat. It would be great to know what you're thinking and to get some feedback. So today, I'm going to give an overview of Google Ads, the different type of ads and how they work. We're going to run through some questions to ask before considering whether Google Ads are right for your business, because they're definitely not right for every business. And they are a really quick way to lose money if they're not the right marketing channel for you. I'm going to quickly run through 5 ways to check if you have a Google account and to see if it has issues. And also briefly talk about Google Ads at the current time during coronavirus and some of the things you need to think about. Okay, so people will talk about PPC, they'll talk about pay-per-click. Google AdWords recently rebranded as Google Ads, but it's the biggest pay-per-click platform in the world. It's called pay-per-click, as I said, because someone clicks your advert, they go through to your website, and for the privilege of having that person land on your website, you pay Google for that click. There are also other pay-per-click platforms. So Microsoft is always on Google's tails when it comes to advertising. They had a platform called Bing Ads, which is now called Microsoft Advertising, which is the main advertising platform. Works pretty much in exactly the same way as Google Ads, but you only get around 10 to 15% of the traffic. And then, of course, there are Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Amazon ads, many other places where you can put pay-per-click ads. But today, I'm just going to be talking about the Google platform because that's our specialism and what I know about. Here's a slide just showing the sheer amount of money that Google makes out of ads, and ads fund the Google empire. So 135 billion pounds in 2019. And despite coronavirus and a lot of advertisers cutting their budgets from March until recently, they actually have only had a 2% fall in revenue this year, which is amazing, really. So the curve is not going to be as steep this year. The orange bars on that chart are for Facebook, which is growing as well, but doesn't have the same market share as Google does. So the different types of Google ads. We're going to talk primarily about search ads today, But there are a number of ads that Google offers, and I will briefly talk about all of them. The ones that you see as you move around the internet, the picture ads that stalk you when you've seen a product on a particular site and shown some interest, and then suddenly they pop up everywhere, those are called display ads. You have video ads, which appear on the YouTube platform and can also appear on websites. Search ads are the ones that people think about when they, you know, if you mention Google ads, they're the ones that appear at the top of the Google search results when you type something into Google, and also at the bottom. And then you have app ads with the newest format, which are the ones that appear on apps through the Play Store on Android devices. So many apps that you don't actually pay for will be funded by advertising, and those ads that pop up, you can pay to place those. So search ads, let's just talk about those briefly. So you get up to 4 ads at the top of the search page, and then you get up to 3 at the bottom of the page. And all ads have a little indicator. If you have a look on the slide there, you can see there's a little tiny green ad in a square. They've done research on this, and actually a lot of people don't even realise that these are ads anymore. It used to be the case that people would always scroll down to the organic results. The organic results is basically what we call anything below the paid search ads. People used to scroll down, but increasingly, because the ads are more relevant to what people are looking for, people are more often clicking on the ads themselves. So particularly on mobile devices, around 60, 70, 80% of all clicks go to the ads. So it's a difficult one really, because if you're in a market where lots of your competitors are using advertising, then it means unless you join the party, you can be a long way down the page and missing out on quite a high percentage of clicks. That doesn't mean you should necessarily run Google ads, but it is something to think about in terms of whether or not they're worth considering. So beneath the ads, you have the split over 2 slides here, the map result, which is also known as the local pack. That's actually not an advertising spot. That's determined by your SEO and your Google My Business listing, which isn't something I'm going to talk about again today. But if you don't know if you have a Google My Business listing, that is worth just double checking. If you have a Google My Business listing, then when you Google yourself, your own brand name, then there should be a box that pops up on the right of your screen when you're looking on a computer with your address and phone number and that kind of thing. And that's also what powers this local pack. So that's nothing to do with ads. And so then you have the first organic result appearing after that. Now search ads, sorry, just go back a slide, they're triggered by keywords. So basically what people type into Google will trigger which ads they show. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. The cost per click, which is the way of saying how much do you have to pay for every click, can vary hugely on search ads. So they can go from 10 pence potentially right the way up to £100, would you believe? So if you're in a really, really competitive marketplace, you will find that you know, it may or may not make sense economically for you to advertise, depending on how much the clicks are in your market. And we'll come on and talk about that as well in a second. Okay, so the second type of ads, which are also a type of search ads, are shopping ads. And these are the ads which are shown when you have an e-commerce store. So people can actually physically buy stuff on your website. You know, whether it's a pair of shoes or some sort of widget, they can buy stuff directly there and then add it to a cart on your website and buy it. Then you're eligible to run shopping ads. And they will either appear on the right-hand side of the screen on desktop or just below the search bar, as in these 2 examples here. They work in an entirely different way to the other sort of search ads we were just looking at. What they do is they pull directly from your inventory on your website. So if you're using something like Shopify or WooCommerce to run an online store, then that will connect through to Google Ads, and Google will get your product information, the pictures, the pricing, everything directly from there. The cost per click on shopping ads is usually cheaper than search ads. So they can be a really great choice if you run an e-commerce store. The third type that I'm not going to go into in massive detail is I've written together display and video ads. And these are really complex areas, but basically you can choose how to target them according to the audiences that you want to reach and what they might be doing. So you, for example, say, I need to reach mums who have got children of this age and you know, are interested in yoga, for example. Then you could run a display ad that would target people like that and would appear on websites that that person might look at, on videos that that person might watch on YouTube. So they're a great way of reaching audiences according to their behavior. What they aren't doing, like the other sort of Google ads, is catching people at the moment when they're searching. So for the previous two types of ads, when people are actively searching, they're typing into Google, I'm looking for this service or this product. You can pop up, you're there to show your ad at the moment they want to buy. Whereas display and video ads are a form of interruption marketing. You're interrupting people in their day-to-day life and trying to grab their attention. You'll see from this selection of ads that I've got that some of them are actually formatted in a standard template by Google. So the two that are on the top left there, the one about musty laundry and Manchester United, those are both generated by Google. The advertiser has literally given them a picture and some words and a logo, and Google has put those things together in a way that will fit that ad space. The other ads, the one for Wix and Dell, those are ads that have been deliberately designed. So you would have to pay a designer to design an animated banner or a video ad for you. So there's a lot of complexity around this. For smaller advertisers with a small budget, the good thing about it is the cost per click can be really low as 2 or 3 pence per click. So you can afford to buy a lot more clicks for your budget. Okay, so just briefly sort of summarizing that, if there's 3 types of ads, broadly speaking, you've got search ads, shopping ads, and display and video ads. Love to throw in a bit of maths here from my school days. But if you're a lead generation business, if you need to get people to pick up the phone or fill in a website form, then you would start with search ads because people are actively looking for what you're selling. Then you might want to add on display and video ads possibly and run both of those. So you've got an either or a both situation. If you're running an e-commerce store, then you've got wider options. You can run shopping ads, you can run search ads and shopping, you can run display shopping, or you can run all 3. So choosing the right options can depend on your budget, it can depend on the competitors and what they're doing in your market, but that's the sort of thing that you need to ask questions about before you start. Okay, so 5 high-level questions to ask before you even consider whether it's worth running Google Ads for your business. First one, are you allowed to advertise? Some people get a long way down the line of paying someone to set up an account for them or doing it themselves, and then realise that they're selling a prohibited service. Let me just see if I can zoom in on this. It might make it a little bit easier. Some of those are pretty obvious. So adult content, alcohol, it's not surprising. Google doesn't want you to advertise dangerous products, but some of them are far less obvious. So you can get into real challenges sometimes if you're trying to sell alternative medicine or therapies. There are quite often issues around products that can be downloaded. So it's always just worth checking the question to start with. Is this something that I am actually allowed to advertise before you start? The second question, and a really important one, is are enough people looking for what you're selling? So particularly if you're running search ads, they obviously only work if people type something into Google which matches what you're selling. If you are like this wonderful person trying to sell people butter that comes in Pritt sticks, then it's highly unlikely anyone's going to be Googling that. and your ads just won't show. In that instance, maybe a video ad, which shows people the wonderful technology, you know, new improved way of delivering butter would be a great option for you. So that can influence the way in which you choose to run Google Ads. The other thing is, are you hyper-local? So if you can only literally deliver your service to a very few people, say, for example, you would only offer a service to people who live within the Borden area, then there might just not be enough people searching. And if there's not enough people searching, then Google will not always choose to show your ads. They might prefer people that have got that broader reach. The third question is around how much your product or service costs. So it's quite hard to make Google Ads work on low value products. And I'll just run through, again, a little quick bit of maths to show you how this works. So let's say you buy 100 clicks at £1 each, just to make the maths easy. So it costs you £100, right? Plus, if you're going to pay someone like that, the cost of, like us, the cost of managing your campaign. Now, let's say 1 in 10 people buy something after visiting your website. So you get 10 sales from those 100 clicks. If you sell products for £5, then your revenue is going to be 10 sales by £5, so you make 50 quid. Now, obviously, that's a Google Ads campaign that is going to lose you money. It's not going to be a campaign that makes sense. If, however, you've got the exact same scenario, but instead of selling products for £5, you're selling a product for £100, then it's a bit of a no-brainer. You've got the potential to make £1,000 from that campaign, and it's only going to cost you £100. There are exceptions to this rule. So if your business works on the basis that you sell a cheap product, and that enables you then to upsell a more expensive product, then you might well find that even though you lose money initially, you make money on the bigger sale that comes later. Also, if you sell a subscription product, so say you have a monthly fee of £10, but people tend to stay with you for 3 years, again, ads might well make perfect sense. So these numbers that have been highlighted are the ones that you have the influence to change. So you can choose how many clicks you buy, to a certain extent, how much you pay for them, depending on how you structure your campaign. You can also improve the conversion rate of your website. So that's just a way of saying how many people buy after visiting your website, how many people convert. If you can change that number from 1 in 10 to 1 in 5, clearly your campaign is going to make more money. And you can also potentially change the amount you sell for your products for, your services for, perhaps by bundling them with other things, or working on your margins. So there are other ways of making Google Ads work, even if they don't look like they might initially. Does your website convert visitors into paying customers? This is the first ever Amazon.com website. It clearly, if they were running a website like this now, would not be selling many books. But sometimes people come to us, they have a website that's quite out of date. Maybe it doesn't work on mobile devices. It's not a secure site. If you've got issues with your website, always fix them first before starting to run Google Ads, because you know, there's no point paying to send someone to a website if your website isn't turning those people into customers. You're going to be losing money. And final question, are you only planning to run Google Ads to make your business a success? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Google Ads is a channel that can cause people a headache. If you start a campaign, it's working brilliantly, you decide to put all your energy into Google Ads, and then a competitor comes in and they start paying more for clicks, well, suddenly your business might look quite precarious. So I always say to people, by all means, run Google Ads. It's a great way to drive instant traffic to your website and to drive more sales, but you need to balance that with improving your SEO, so you rank organically, maybe an email marketing campaign, thinking about Facebook possibly. Don't just rely on Google Ads. Okay, so 5 checks if you are already running Google Ads, or if you decide to go ahead with Google Ads and you want to know whether or not Google Ads are working for you. The first thing I would say is Google makes money from clicks. It's a bottom line. That's what their whole business is funded on. There would be no Google and all of the things they do if they didn't sell paid advertising. But you, you don't make money from clicks. You make money when people buy stuff from you, whether that's a service or a product. So you mustn't confuse getting lots and lots of clicks with a successful Google Ads campaign. It would be far better to buy 100 clicks and get 10 sales than to buy 10,000 clicks and get 10 sales. If you buy an awful lot of clicks and you don't improve the amount that you're selling, then you're just making Google richer. So it's really important to know what to look for and to not trust everything that Google is asking you to do. This is a screenshot from one of our clients' accounts. I've just blurred out some of the information, but you can see that Google is saying, do this, do that, you know, this is how you can improve things and you will get a percentage increase. What Google is talking about is a percentage increase in clicks, not necessarily a percentage increase in the sales that you are making. And often these things, if you implement them, which is really easy to do, you just click on the apply all button and it's done, you will find that your results suddenly plummet. So it's just worth maintaining some healthy skepticism around Google's motivation. Okay, so things to check if you're running a Google Ads account. And this first one is a really important one to understand if you're ever thinking of running Google Ads. There is a difference between what Google calls search terms and keywords. So keywords are what you type, what you decide you want your ads to show for. And search terms are what people type into Google. And Google matches those two things together. So say, for example, I wanted to advertise my business. I might have the keywords PPC agency, Google Ads agency, digital marketing agency and Farnham. Possibly those would be the things, the keywords that I want my ads to show for, and I would tell Google I want my ads to show for. Now Google then has a choice of what search terms they match to that, because people type lots and lots of different things into Google. Apparently 15% of Google search terms have never been typed before. So you can't possibly guess all of those up front. So Google helps you out by matching. The thing is, the keyword match type, i.e. how much leeway you give Google to decide whether to match or not, can make the difference between your account being a success or not. So Google has something called broad match keywords, which is the loosest sort of keyword matching. And I'll just show you a quick example here. So Google recommends you use broad match. But if you do, you tend to waste a lot of your ad budget. Here's just a little diagram which shows you the difference between the different match types. So broad match is that big blue circle. If you imagine I'm advertising on pay-per-click agency in Farnham, Google might think, well, you know what, pay-per-click's kind of similar to SEO. So I'm going to show this ad for SEO agency in Farnham. Well, we don't do SEO, so that click would be a waste of money for me. So Google has a lot of flexibility in how they show your ads with broad match. And then you get kind of increasing levels of accuracy, right down to what Google calls exact match, which isn't totally exact, but it's an awful lot better than broad. So probably it's easier if I show you an example of this. So this is an account that we were asked to audit for a London estate agency, and it's, if you imagine, quite a posh estate agent. They were in a lovely part of town, and they were running a campaign using broad match keywords. The keyword that they'd given Google for this campaign was rent in Chelsea, which made perfect sense. They wanted people who wanted to rent property in Chelsea, but they set it up with broad match. And here's some of the queries that their ads show for. So Chelsea car rental, not ideal. rent an Airbnb for a night near Chelsea Football Club. You know, it's not going to help them sell any property. That one I'm not even going to read out. And, you know, totally random things. Rent a parrot for a photo shopping in photo shoot in Chelsea. People type seriously weird things into Google, and if you don't control what terms your ads show for, Google will just spend your budget and you won't make any sales. You can add what are called negative keywords to stop your ad showing. So in this instance, you could add the negative keywords for car and hotel and Airbnb, but you're never going to predict all of the searches that people might type into Google. I certainly would never think to exclude the word parrot in this instance. So that was check number one. Check number two, you need to look at your keyword quality scores. So what's a quality score? Google wants your ads to be relevant because they don't want, when someone types something into Google, to have a whole load of garbage at the top of the page and people think, oh, forget Google, I'm going to go and use the Bing search engine, right? So they want your ads to be relevant, and they want people to click your ad because they make money, right, when they click your ad. So what they do is they have this thing called quality score, which is a little bit like a credit rating, as an incentive to get advertisers to do a better job and to match their, to choose the right keywords and to match them in the right way. So it's an estimate really of how effective your ads are, your, the keywords you've chosen, and also how good your website is. I've used the phrase landing pages there. It's just a bit of jargon that means the page people go to after they've clicked on your ad. So the landing page would be the page on your website, not necessarily the home page, but the page that answers that person's question best. So quality scores, they go from 1, which is awful, to 10, which is great. And these will directly influence how much you pay. So it's not the case that the people at the top pay the most always and the people at the bottom pay the least. You can pay above the odds if Google doesn't think your ads are great or your website's great. So Google is basically saying, okay, we'll show your ad grudgingly, but you're going to have to make it worth our while. So instead of paying £1 a click, you might be paying £2 a click because your quality scores are bad. And this is one reason why, if you DIY run your Google Ads campaign, you might save on paying someone to do it for you, but you might end up paying more for your clicks, which costs you in the long run. Not necessarily. If you invest the time and learn in how to manage the platform, it's possible, but it's very, very easily done, and we see people doing it all the time. The third check is to look at how your campaigns are structured. Now, I'm not going to get too technical on this, but if you just think broadly about how people choose to buy from you, generally people go through a funnel of awareness. They will start thinking, I need to, say if you're thinking about someone that might be considering paid search, they might just start with, I need to promote my business. What marketing channels are there? I think I've heard of this thing called pay-per-click. That's the awareness level. I don't really want to be buying those clicks because those people aren't ready to buy yet. Then you've got kind of the interest level. People are thinking, I think I'm interested in Google Ads. That's probably going to be a good channel for me. You're moving further down the funnel, but they're still probably not where you want to be spending the majority of your money. Then you've got the decision phase. Someone's thinking, right, I'm definitely going to do Google Ads. I need to find an agency, and they're drawing up a short list. That's a great place to advertise. But the absolute best place to advertise is the action stage, where someone knows exactly what they want and they're typing something into Google that is really highly relevant. So another example might be someone who is looking to move to the Borden area. Awareness might be, where is Borden? You know, is this a place I might like to live? Interest level, okay, what are the house prices? What are the primary schools like? Decision stage, they might be typing in estate agents in Borden, but when they get to the action stage, say you were an estate agent in Borden, you would want to advertise on 4-bed family home in the Borden Heritage Quarter. Brilliant, you know, that person is there ready to come and view the houses that is selling. So it's really important to pick keywords that are going to result in a sale for you. And Google is structured so that keywords go into campaigns, and if you bung them all in one campaign, it's very hard to pull those levels apart and to pick out the ones that are going to make most difference for you. So if you do try and set up your Google Ads account on your own, Google will try and make you just set up one campaign and throw all of the keywords in. It's not the best way to do things, because you can't then control where you spend your money and what converts into a sale and what doesn't. So I'm going to skip over some of this technical detail, but basically you need to think about what matters to your business and when are people ready to buy. Okay, then there's one element of Google Ads which is getting people to click on your ads and get to your website, but then the final piece of the picture is, have they bought? And that is called conversion tracking. Now, it depends on what sort of business you're running. If you're running a lead generation business, then a conversion might be someone filling in a form or picking up the phone or emailing you. If you're running an e-commerce website, then a conversion would be someone putting something in a basket and actually buying it. So you need to set up tracking in Google Ads to find out whether or not your ad clicks are actually leading to sales or not. Otherwise, you're just buying clicks and you don't know if they're working or not. And if someone else is running your Google Ads account for you, you need to ask them what's being counted as a conversion. So some people set up conversions on everything, you know, newsletter sign-ups. But if you've got a website that's selling things for £500 and you're also getting people to sign up to your newsletter, one is worth an awful lot more than the other. So it's fine to track both, but you need to work out whether or not you're counting and being aware of the actual value that you're getting from your business. And many Google Ads reports are pretty unhelpful kind of explaining what you're paying for. So this is a typical example. This isn't one of my reports, but it's one from another Google Ads agency. And you know, you'll get a list of numbers like this, and you'll think, there's just a load of numbers there. Is that good or is that bad? You know, am I getting a better rate of conversion or not? What does this actually mean? So you always have to just ask yourself the question, do I understand what I'm actually getting for my money? Because otherwise it's quite easy to spend a lot of time, we see this all the time, people paying for Google Ads and they're actually not generating any more sales from it, but they don't have the information to find that out. Final check, it's a kind of a concept around return on ad spend. How much are you making for every pound that you spend on Google Ads? And there's just one really quick concept I want to show you so that you kind of understand this, because a lot of people find it difficult. Basically, Google Ads is a supply and a demand model. So you've got advertisers providing a supply of ads, and then you've got purchasers who are creating a demand for your product. And those numbers will go up and down. So for example, during coronavirus, the demand for some products just disappeared overnight. And the demand for some products went through the roof. You know, if you were trying to sell compost back in April, I know as a gardener, I was trying to buy compost, couldn't go out of the house, couldn't buy it online. You know, the demand went through the roof, but the supply wasn't there because people couldn't get it delivered. So all of the factors in the market, it's basically a marketplace, will affect how much you pay for your clicks. So when someone types something into Google, it's like an instant auction. Google will look at all of the people that want those keywords. They will rank them according to their quality scores. They will look at how much that advertiser is prepared to pay for a click, and then they will show the ads in a second, in a fraction of a second. And so your cost per click will vary according to the market and the market forces. To give you an example, we have an advertiser who sells high-end weddings. They were paying £5 a click back in February for people who were searching for wedding organisers, and now they can get those clicks for less than £1 because so many advertisers aren't advertising because people aren't making decisions on weddings. So the cost per click is a dynamic market and it changes. So you need to know your return on ad spend. I've talked about the auction model, and keywords that are valuable to you will also be valuable to your competitors. So because something's expensive doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't be trying to get searches on that keyword. It might be expensive because people who type that keyword into Google usually go ahead and buy. So higher value keywords mean a higher cost per click, but you don't want to be optimizing for that. You don't want to be making decisions based on that. You want to just figure out if you're making money or not. So there's a whole ton of maths in Google. If you're not a maths person, it can be quite stressful. This is just about saying that there are lots of terms that your ad agency might use to explain this concept of return on ad spend. It can be called all sorts of different things: conversion value divided by cost, revenue divided by ad spend, return on ad spend. And you'll see reports like this, where the agency will say, okay, keyword 1 has cost you £43 this month. Your average cost per click was 6 pence. You had a click-through rate of 56%, so loads of people clicked on that ad. It was probably possibly someone looking for a particular brand. You've made £3,000 from that keyword, which means for every £1 you've spent on ads, you've made £82 back. That's a brilliant Google Ads campaign. You'll see here you've got a keyword they're paying a lot more for, 55p versus 6p, and they've made less money back on it, although still a really good return. So understanding these numbers is really key to being able to make a Google Ads account work. There's a lot of maths involved, and it's not as simple as just throwing keywords into a campaign as Google wants you to, and checking if it's working. Okay, nearly out of time, so I'm just going to quickly talk about how things have changed in the last few months. I've hinted at this before. All the markets went completely haywire around the time of the lockdown. This is the Google Trends website, which is a great thing to go and look at if you haven't already. If you just literally Google Trends, then it will come up. And what you can do is you can put in keywords relating to your business, and it will show you how the number of searches is changing over time. And you can look back 5 years, you can look back any amount of time. And it's a really useful tool for seeing whether or not your market's expanding or whether or not your market's contracting and what's gone on during coronavirus. So here's some examples I put in for eggs, shortage of eggs, if you recall way back. Hand sanitizer obviously went through a huge kind of boost of searches from virtually nothing. No one was searching for hand sanitizer in great numbers before COVID kicked off. Delivery, you'll see that huge peak. Suddenly everyone needed everything delivered. Zoom has been a great winner during coronavirus lockdown, and keywords such as paint, everyone was getting on with their DIY. So it's a free tool, Google Trends. I'd say go and check it out, see what's happened in your market, because it can be a really good way of understanding what people are searching on and what keyword phrases. So there were unprecedented changes, as I've talked about, supply and demand. There have been really big opportunities. So some of our clients have pivoted their business to online. They've had new markets. We found that Amazon and eBay have dropped out of auctions that they've been in for a very long time, which meant our smaller clients suddenly could buy clicks far cheaper, and they've really benefited from that. Because if there's lower levels of competition, then you get cheaper clicks. But always remember, if you're running ads, that Google's interests aren't the same as yours. At the moment, Google's really trying to minimize loss of revenue, and we're seeing some activity in the way that they're structuring the platform. Google Ads, the platform, it changes weekly, and the changes they're making are not in the favor of advertisers who aren't 100% sure of what they're doing. So yeah, lots of people are finding that their ads possibly might have performed and now aren't. But there's a lot you can do to help yourself if you're running Google Ads. So, I'm still seeing, literally 4 months after lockdown, ads that are directing people in store when perhaps stores still aren't open. I'm seeing ads running for products that are out of stock. So it's a case of being very aware of, if you're running Google Ads, what's going on with your account, and are things being updated often enough to change in line with what's going on with the market. Campaigns need active management. So that's it from me. If you're already running Google Ads, then we offer free account audits. I'm really happy to have a chat with you about what's going on in your account. If we think it's being run brilliantly, we will say so. I'm not one to give you the hard sales pitch, because I only want to work with people who genuinely need our help. If you're thinking of running Google Ads again, get in touch. If we don't think Google Ads will work for you, if we don't think the numbers will stack up, we will tell you so. I don't like having phone calls 3 or 4 months down the line with people who are upset that they've wasted money. So we only work with people that we think we genuinely can help. So there's my details. Feel free to get in touch.
Thank you so much, Karen. That's fabulous. And Karen will be joining us again in about 10 minutes time, when you can put all of your questions. I've been monitoring the chat. There were a couple of questions, one of which was about technical requirements, which I managed to answer. But do come back for that second session at 10:40. Karen, can you just stop sharing your screen?
Yes, of course. Sorry.
No, that's all right. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I know Karen can't hear you, but give her a round of applause. That's some fantastic information, and hopefully it's given you some information that you can take forward and use in your business to improve results, both starting and improving your pay-per-click ads on Google. Thank you so much for joining us, Karen. We're going to let you go now. Don't forget, we'll be back in 10 minutes time. There's a second session. There is another link for that. If you don't have it, email Gareth and he'll ping it over to you ASAP. See you then. All the very best. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see you in that second session. Thank you, Karen. See you in that second session yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello there, people. Welcome back. Welcome back to our second session. We're here with Karen Young from Ethos Media, talking about pay-per-click, Google Ads, Google AdWords. Hello, lovely to see you, Noam. Lovely to see you, Katrine, Shayna, Michael, Sue, looking like someone from the future with her single earpiece and her mouthpiece there, some kind of cyborg receptionist. Helen, hello. Hello, lovely to see you. Rachel's there, being a bit shy, but looking ever so glam in her screenshot there. That's fabulous. Welcome back. Oh, there's you. There. Fantastic. Oh, still looking cool with the cap. Wonderful.
I'm out and about.
No, that's all right. No problem. Whereabouts are you? Oh, sorry, you're muted. I didn't hear where you are.
It's a secret.
Very nice. That looks very warm. Yeah, so it's a hot day today. So without further ado, we're going to crack on. We'll let people in as they come. But Rachel asked the question that didn't quite get answered before we finished, Karen. So I thought we might start with that. And her question was, I have someone running it. Must be her pay-per-click account. I have someone running my account and it's not working. How can I find the mistakes on the CPC ads?
Yeah, so this was the points I covered off when I was talking about the 5 things to check. That's a really good place to start. So start by having a look at your keywords and asking, are they the right ones? Are you getting the right searches through? So there's a report called the Search Terms Report that you can use to look at that. I'm really happy to jump on a call and show people how to do these things. That's absolutely fine. You'd need to look at your keyword quality scores. You'd need to look at how the account is structured. It's never one thing with Google Ads. It can be a whole, you know, the account could have been structured wrong, or perhaps the bidding's been set up wrong. Perhaps the account's not targeting the right keywords. There's so many different things it could be, that there isn't, unfortunately, a kind of a quick, it must be just check this and change that from X to Y. So I'm really happy to offer some advice on that.
I was going to say, I build and maintain websites for customers, and in the early days we offered a full range of services: SEO, social media, all of that kind of stuff. And as the internet matured, these different systems, they all started to become more complicated. They required more specialist skills, more attention, and certain things fell away for us. And with pay-per-click, it's the one thing that I say to somebody: get a professional who is doing this every day to look at your account, because if you get it set up wrong in the first place, you will waste a lot of money. And Google doesn't really care.
No.
They're a big business. They're you know, they want you to stay on their platform, but they don't really care if you get it right or wrong, because they make the money either way. So, you know, at the risk of sounding a bit salesy, pick up the phone and book a call with Karen, and have her have a look and see what mistakes her trained and expert eye can spot, because it can literally save you thousands of pounds.
It's like what you said, Karen. We're not here to make Google rich, which is a really good stance to say. So yeah, I really agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, we audit a lot of accounts, and we quite frequently find that people are wasting 90% of their budget that they have to spend on clicks. And that's just heartbreaking, because sometimes these accounts have been running for years.
Yeah.
And you think you could have paid us a small amount of that, and we would have saved you that money and made you more money by getting you sales as well. So it is one platform. It's the fastest way to lose money that there possibly is.
We say at Signal, no one should run a business on their own. It's kind of like a catchphrase, because it attaches itself to so many different areas where you shouldn't be running your business on your own. And even if you're a small business, if you're going to step into a really technical area like this, it's a really quick way to, as you've said, Karen, lose a lot of money. So having somebody like yourself in your corner and working with you, it's saving you money. It really is. So I would recommend that a conversation with Karen is had if you are thinking about moving in this direction or looking at improving your account. Anyway, with that being said, let's move on. And Karen, maybe you would start to take us through this really useful worksheet. Now, has everybody got the worksheet? You should have all been sent it. Yeah. You've got it all printed out. There
Everyone
we go.
got it. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to cover those off after we've gone through this.
Yep.
So what I wanted to kind of talk through, without wanting to, you know, some of you are probably running ads already, and I don't want to kind of teach you something that's too basic, but a lot of people do forget the basics on Google Ads, which is just figuring out what is it that people are typing into Google, and how can you respond to that as a business. It's about putting your best offer in front of the right people at the right time. That's essentially what Google Ads is about if you want to make money. So the first question I always ask people, why do you want to use Google Ads? What's your objective behind this? And generally people fall into one or two camps. So the first question is simple. Are you trying to sell products in an online store, or are you trying to generate leads? Do we want to have a quick show of hands? Is anyone here got an online store that they're trying to sell products through? Katrine has, yeah, Shana. Oh, anyone else? So we've got a couple of people doing that. Everybody else presumably is looking at lead generation. And lead generation, yeah, brilliant, as well. Yeah, so you can be in both camps. Lead generation can usually be business to business. So you're trying to get sales from leads from other businesses. Obviously, I'm in that area. Or you're in business to consumer. So if you're trying to sell, I don't know, hypnotherapy treatments, then you would be selling to consumers. And that reason for using Google Ads is worth getting clear up front, because that affects what sort of ads you set up. So the next exercise we want to do, if you haven't thought about it already, is just write down 3 phrases or keywords that someone might type into Google to find you. Now keep them reasonably short, not single words. You know, if someone typed agency into Google, they looking for us, that would be no good, because there's many different types of agencies. They might be looking for anybody. So for me, the combinations of words that work are PPC or Google Ads, along with agency or consultant or help with Google Ads would work. So just write down 3 different things, top 3 things that someone might type into Google to find you. Now, there may be many keywords. We have campaigns with 10,000 keywords in them for national clients, particularly if you work regionally. So say, for example, you were selling, you were an IT help desk business and you were selling your services nationwide, then you might want to advertise on IT help desk Farnham, IT help desk Aldershot. You know, you'd want every combination there was of every location, and we've got tools that will, you know, with geographical databases and tools that would expand all of those keywords out for you and sort them into regions. But the key things, it's just trying to work out the main keywords that people will write into Google for you. So has everyone had a chance to get those down? Yeah? Yeah, brilliant. So what we thought we'd do we want to still split into groups? We're a reasonably small group here, maybe 2 breakout rooms?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you think? So what we thought we'd do is just go into a breakout room and do the next question together in that great breakout room. So literally type your first keyword into Google. You might want to do that on another device if you've got a computer with 1 screen rather than a couple, so that you can look at people whilst you're doing it, and just make some notes about the types of ads that are showing and what they're saying, and then come back and have a chat about that.
Fantastic. Yeah? Oh, welcome back, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Lovely to have you back. Excellent. Wonderful.
Is that everyone?
It's everyone but Rachel.
She's gone.
Okay. All right, so that's everybody.
Perfect. So what we thought we'd do is just talk through what you found, what it taught you about the advertising within your sector. And if someone's got a really interesting example, I can have a quick look on my screen at how much the keywords would cost in your business, and we can start thinking about what it would mean if you were an advertiser. So does anyone want to go first in terms of saying what they found out when they were Googling their keywords?
I don't mind saying.
Go on, Sue.
Thanks, Sue.
I googled first of all massage therapist, and at the top of the page there was 3 ads. One of them that I know is out of date because it's a lady who used to live up the road from me, and she moved about 3 years ago. And then underneath that there were 2 more that both said that they were temporarily closed. So I don't know, you know, that makes me wonder how in date, you know, that is, or whether the lady from up the road, you know, she's just not been, you know, keeping her information up to date. So there wasn't an awful lot. Underneath that, there was quite a lot about getting started and how to become a massage therapist, but not anybody offering a service. So I chose another one of my keywords, which was aromatherapy massage, which is what I offer. And to my absolute amazement, I popped up, Tranquil Tea House Therapies has popped up underneath the map. So I found myself there, which was, I was quite excited.
Brilliant.
That is really good news. So can I just check, the ones where you saw the lady from up the road and the other people that were shut, were they definitely ads rather than just the organic results that Google was showing without people paying?
How do I tell if they were definitely ads?
They have like a little green ad box. It's really subtle.
No, it didn't have a little green ad box.
Cool. Okay, so those are actually organic results. Those are free results,
right,
that Google shows when someone types keywords in.
Right.
So that's really interesting. That tells you something straight off, which is nobody's advertising.
No.
The likelihood is no one's advertising in that market in your area right now, which probably means that the clicks will be reasonably cheap. Doesn't always mean that, and I'll explain why. What happens if you always Google the same kinds of things and you never ever click on ads, then Google will decide, Google's algorithms will decide that you're not interested in clicking on ads. You're not interested in any of those advertisers, and they will stop showing you those ads because Google's here to make money. Google wants to spend that advertiser's ad budget on people who are likely to click. So it's sort of a myth that everybody sees the same things when they Google. They don't. The things that I see when I Google will be totally different from the things that you see when you Google often, because Google's algorithms learn from what you're interested in and what you tend to click on and the context of your search and the location that you're in. So they show you more and more relevant results. So one problem we always have with advertisers is they will start an advertising account with us. They will eagerly Google themselves to see if their ads pop up. And they, of course, never click because they don't want to spend their own budget. And then after time, their ads stop showing. And then they're on the phone saying, oh, my ads aren't working anymore. And I'm saying, no, Google's just choosing not to show them to you. So the fact that you didn't see any ads is an interesting one. The other thing to consider is if you have ad blocking software put on your computer, which some people do. And that can also mean that you don't have ads showing. If you haven't deliberately installed it, it won't be there, but that's another thing to consider. Right. That's really interesting. So there's no ads showing for Sue. Did anyone find a whole bunch of ads popped up when they Googled their keywords?
Gnome's nodding. Gnome, would you perhaps tell us about the keywords you chose?
Yeah. So the 3 keywords I chose were freelance Photoshop artist was the first one. Photoshop service was the second one. And photo editing service was the third one. And interestingly, on all 3 of those searches, there were 2 websites that came up every single time, and they were just freelancer websites. They weren't necessarily just to do with Photoshop. They were, so Fiverr and freelancers were the 2 main ones that came up all the time. Upwork came up, which is a freelance designer's website, so that's a little bit closer to the mark. But I think there was only 2, maybe 3 actual photo editing websites that came up in the search. So it seems to be mostly websites for where you would go to find freelancers.
That's interesting. So people like Fiverr and Upwork, they have big budgets. They will be spending
Thought they might.
hundreds of thousands a month to drive traffic to their platform. A lot of these new tech platforms will have venture capital funding. They don't need to make the same profits that the rest of us make initially to get their business off the ground. So quite often they will throw money at ads. But the good thing is that if Google, if your account's set up right and you're targeting the local area or an area you can service, it might be the whole of the UK, and you are really highly specific about the keyword that you want, and you have a website that totally answers that question, you will get a higher quality score than someone like Fiverr. Because if someone types in, I need a photo editing artist in Borden, and they're in Borden, Fiverr, they're not, they're a generic platform for freelance services. That's not such a good fit for that query as your website. So it is possible for the small guys to beat the big guys in this situation. But you have to have your account set up really well. And those keywords you picked were excellent phrases because they say exactly what you did, but they also indicate that someone is looking to buy that. So you didn't have Photoshop artist as one of your keywords from memory.
Oh, it did.
Photoshop artist service. Did you just have Photoshop artist?
I had freelance Photoshop artist.
But you had freelance in there.
Right.
So freelance means I'm looking to buy. And the word service means I'm looking to buy. The word company or supplier, they all say that I'm typing something in and I'm looking to buy that service. Whereas if I was typing in Photoshop artist, I might just be looking for YouTube videos of cool people doing Photoshop art so that I could learn from them.
Yeah.
I might not be looking to buy anything at all. So it's always really worth thinking about those keywords as you did to make sure that they're going to get people with money in their pocket.
And does it help to say, for example, you were quite specific in that you put sort of in Borden, does it help to add a location in as well?
It can do. The problem is every time you add more and more, they're called long tail keywords. When you add more words, their volumes will fall dramatically. So say, for example, you can serve, your target area is everyone in the southeast of England. There's no particular geographical limits on what you do. Then you're targeting a big area, you're likely to get lots of people searching on Photoshop services. But the moment you take it right the way down to one place, there's probably not going to be enough people searching. This is the kind of the hyper local thing I was talking about. So generally, Google will show your ads as long as there are at least 10 people a month searching on that keyword phrase in the area that you're targeting. If you have fewer than 10 people a month, then Google will give you a low search volume flag. They might show your ads, they might not. And the reason Google does that is they're trying to push all advertisers onto a limited number of keywords so that they can get you bidding against each other. Remember, it's an auction. Google likes people to drive the price up. And if they let you bid on really long tail keywords and have thousands of them in your account, you might be the only one with that keyword, and then you get the click for a penny. That doesn't make Google any money, right? So yeah, that's the reason why it's set up like that.
Right.
That's great. A really good example. And were the ads written well? Not the Fiverr Upwork ones, but the ones that were for specific companies. Did you think, I'd buy from these people, or did you think the ads could be improved?
To be well, actually, on the third one, the photo editing service search that I did, there was actually, I'm guessing it was a display ad, because it was a box with had a logo in it, and it had bullet points about all these things that they're offering.
Those are actually part of the organic search. They're called,
is it?
I'm trying to think what they're called. Yeah, Google, if you structure, particularly blog posts, Google loves blog posts that are structured with bullets and numbers, and they will quite often just lift a section of that out and put it in a bit like the map view. It's like a featured, I think they're actually called featured snippets in SEO.
Snippets, yeah, Google snippets.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
out for me.
That's not paid. Yeah. Ooh. So display ads are the ones, say for example, you were looking at a site with ads on it, so a newspaper site, you will often find there are ads all over the place flashing at you. Those are display ads, the ones that, you go to Marks and Spencer's and you're looking at a new pair of knickers, and then suddenly everywhere you go, there's the same underwear set that pops up. Those are display ads that basically follow you around the internet.
And you get those in social media as well, don't you?
So the social media platforms run their ads separately. So there's the Facebook ads program, which is where the ads on Facebook will appear. And LinkedIn has their own advertising platform. Twitter has Twitter ads. So yeah, Google doesn't get into other people's social media platforms. The space that Google can place ads on is google.com.co.uk, all the varieties of Google, YouTube, because Google owns it, Gmail, and what they call the display network, which is huge numbers of sites across all the websites across the internet. So there's what's known as the AdSense program. If you, for example, wanted to put ads on your website, you could sign up to AdSense and say to Google, you can place ads here, here, and here, and Google would place ads, display ads from advertisers, and you would get paid per click. Tiny amounts of money, very, very rarely worth doing on low traffic websites, but yeah, that's broadly how it works.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else want to? We've got time for one or two more people. Yeah.
Katrine.
Hi, I sell rain hats, so it's pretty straightforward, as in I'm just selling products. When I Google women's waterproof hats, I also did an analysis actually just for last month on my Google Analytics, and it looks like I got more money through organic search than I did from Google ads. Mm-hmm. Now, I do know that I need help with my Google ads, so I will be calling you. I just, sort of let it go, and I'm sure I've had a whole load of Google people calling me, giving me tips, and we've followed them left, right and centre. We've gone backwards, we've gone forwards.
Yeah.
And it's slightly not scared me, but it did worry me that it looks like I'm getting more money from my organic searches than my Google ads. Not that that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that my organic search is going okay, but
Yeah.
I'm obviously not doing well enough on my Google ads, basically.
So when you say more money, the critical thing to look at is how the amount of money relates to the number of clicks you've got.
Yes.
So say, for example, you were buying 100 clicks for Google ads, but you've got 1,000 clicks through Google search, you'd expect those clicks to drive more revenue.
Yes.
So you need to look at the rates. Conversion,
yes. And the cost per conversion for Google Shopping is the best. There was one question I was going to ask. In the analytics, it says that I have 4.72 conversion. How can I get a fraction of a conversion? Or is that just me misreading something?
No, you're completely right. And this always baffles people. So this is quite a technical area of Google Ads called attribution modeling. So the best way to explain it, if you went out to the pub for a night out and you had a gin and tonic and then you had 3 glasses of wine and the next morning you woke up with a headache, if you tried to say which drink got me drunk, which drink caused this hangover, that's kind of the problem you're dealing with attribution modeling. Right. So there isn't a straightforward question to that. So what happens when people engage with your business is that they don't just neatly click on an ad, go to your website, buy something. Generally, they might do, but they generally don't. What they will often do is they will find you first through an ad, possibly, and then they'll go to your website, think, oh, that's interesting. Women's rain hats, I could redo with one of those with the autumn coming on. Oh, have to think about that. And then they go away and they maybe see a Facebook post from you, or they maybe get, you know, they see a display ad if you're running those, whatever it is, or suddenly it rains and they think, oh, what was that hat company? So they find their way back, but this time they maybe did it through organic, or maybe they remembered your brand name and they went through direct. So they just typed your name into the search bar. So there's lots of different ways people can come into our business, and Google Analytics will split those out. They will say there's direct, there's organic, there's paid, there's social. So Google will cut all that traffic up for you. Now, the reason you see the sort of fractions of conversions is Google is basically saying an ad was involved in someone buying that hat.
Right.
But it wasn't the whole picture. So it might only give that hat sale 0.72% of that revenue, which is complicated, and it does mean you end up with these fractions of conversions. But it does depend what model you pick, and there are many models. And what you often find, particularly if you're working with a PPC agency like us, and also with an SEO agency, if you're a bigger company, you've got lots of people doing your marketing, you will find that the email marketing people set up their model to favor them, and then the PPC agency might do the same, and the SEO agency might do the same. And when you get all their reports back in, somehow it totals more than the amount of money you've made in the month. Because, say you've made £5,000 in a month, they might all be claiming £4,000 worth of it, which clearly doesn't work. So we try and use an attribution model which gives a fair share to every bit of the process, so that you know what our contribution is. Does that make sense?
It's a very complicated area, Katrine, and knowing whether it was the first click, the last click, or a blend of all the various clicks can be very difficult to actually attribute. We look at conversion optimization, and we're quite often asked, well, why did they do this? And why is the stats showing that this is the thing that did it? And it's like, well, that's the trigger that you have put in your goals as applying as a conversion. And so it can get extremely confusing, especially as Karen says, you're getting different reports with conflicting results, and unsure of how to pick it apart. But anybody else have any comments about the keywords that they have done a little research on? Then maybe we'll move on to the second part of the workbook, Karen?
Yeah, so I mean, really, we've slightly covered some of this anyway. So I don't know if we need to go back into another breakout room specifically to discuss it, but you can go through the exact same exercise with the paid results. You can apply the same to the organic results, and you can optimize if you're not going to run Google Ads because Google Ads don't make sense financially for you right now. Then optimizing those organic results, the results that you don't have to pay for, is really important. So when you Google yourself, you know, what's showing up, who's top, what can you do to get your website to rank higher? And generally the same things that you do to make Google Ads work are the same things that will help you rank well organically as well. So Google Ads will give you a page quality score for your website that you're sending people to, and they will be looking to see the keywords that someone has typed into Google. They will be looking to see those on that page. So the first thing I would do is check whether or not your keywords are actually on that page. Now, I'm just wondering if what do you think about having another breakout group, or whether we just do this as a larger group? Because what I was going to suggest was that if you go to your website that you would send people to, the page you would send people to if they were typing your perfect keywords into Google, and let's have a look at whether or not your website is actually answering that company, that searcher's question. So
why don't I share my screen?
Good
I will open up a search window, and then we can do it. You know, people can provide their search terms, and we can find, you know, follow it through, as it were, and see where the weak spots are.
Perfect, good idea. And you'll be able to contribute to this as well with all your conversion optimization work, so that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, so hopefully everybody can see that. And who would like to go first? Don't worry, we're not going to pick you apart.
Fiona and John have volunteered.
www.rylandresearch.com.
Okay. And what should they do next, Karen? What are we looking for here?
So what was your top keyword that you thought people would type in? So this is a brilliant sector to be in many ways for Google Ads. I always love people who come with highly technical or specific businesses, because there aren't that many people who will be, you know, looking for grease manufacturer. And when they type something into Google, you can be hopefully the right sort of business that comes up for that. So what was the keyword that you picked?
Well, we came up with 3 phrases.
Yeah.
One was grease manufacturing expertise.
Yeah.
Another one was process plant supplier. And the other one was grease manufacturing technology.
Process plant supplier. And what was the last one, sorry?
Grease manufacturing technology.
Okay. So if someone typed grease manufacturing expertise into Google, the first question I would ask is that visible above the fold, which means the bit that you can see on the screen when you first look at a website? Is that keyword phrase available? Now, it might well be that for that phrase, you wouldn't send people to your homepage, and probably you wouldn't. Do you have a page that's specifically about manufacturing?
It's all on that topic, but we may have not used that combination of words on any single page. That's a problem.
That's interesting, isn't it? And so what we're doing at the moment, and we would get more into the detail of the keywords if you were looking at running a Google Ads campaign, is we would start by looking at what the keywords that people are actually searching on. So you can actually just see a Google database of those things. And I'm just going to quickly type in on my screen while we're looking at this. Do you want to, Stuart, do you want to just see if any of those other phrases are there on that homepage? So we had grease manufacturing technology, was it?
I typed in process plant supplier, grease manufacturing technology, and grease manufacturing expertise.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting process to go through to see which of your keywords are actually on your homepage, the things that come to mind when you first are thinking of people, what they would be searching for on your business.
Yeah, those keywords are not, a search of the page is not showing that those keywords are there.
Yeah, yeah. And if those genuinely are the top keyword results for your business, then you want those there, not just for ads, but because that will really help your SEO as well. That will help you rank organically. So I'm just looking at what Google thinks your website's about. So rylandresearch.com. Okay. And I could probably just share my screen as well here, actually, so that would that work?
Yeah, I've stopped sharing. You can share.
Brilliant. Hang on. I need to just find I'm switching between screens here. 1 second. Get that onto this screen. Right. Sorry, slight technical. Okay. So, can people see the screen now with these keywords?
Yep.
Let me zoom in a bit, if your eyesight's anything like mine. So, if you look at the bottom here, the first keyword that Google's picked up from your website is automotive lubricant manufacturers. Is that something that you'd say you do, Fiona and John?
No, we don't actually. That's a problem. We don't make the grease itself. We only make the equipment or provide the formulations for doing it.
Okay. And the advice as well.
Ah, okay. So that's a really specific combination of terms that people would be typing in to find you. So Google's picked up these keywords from your website, and it would be a case of going through these lists and trying to figure out which are the ones that would be most relevant for the type of people who would be looking for your business. So you'll see people type many different things in, and Google gives you an indication of how many searches there are a month, and also how much you'd be likely to pay for a high bid or a low bid, where it has enough data to give that. So manufacturing companies, obviously you would want to use those as negative keywords because you don't want people looking for manufacturing companies or lubricant suppliers, but possibly people looking for the process would be the right type of people. What you can also do, so I've searched here on your website, but we can actually start with keywords instead. So if we typed in grease manufacturing expertise, then Google will tell you, sorry, no one's typing that in as an exact phrase in enough numbers. Now that doesn't mean you can't advertise on that combination of words. It just means you need to give Google more leeway using a broader match type to show your ads for that phrase. It's always an interesting one where you set a really niche product. Ooh, processed pants. Don't want to be looking for that. So let's have a look. Yeah, again, processed plant supply isn't a phrase people type in large numbers, and this is for the UK as a whole. But it doesn't mean you can't reach people. It just means it would be quite a niche campaign, and you'd have to be very careful around the combinations of keywords that you chose to advertise on. So it would be a process really of sorting through, trying to really nail down exactly the things that people would type in to find you on Google, and then putting combinations of those keywords into the Google search engine. And the good thing about running ads is you then get to see what people actually do type into Google to for your ads to show, and that's kind of free keyword research. And then you can go and put those phrases on your website so that you know your website is then going to work better for both organic and paid search. Does that make sense? So it's not a question of creating ads and just leaving them. It's an ongoing research and learning process to make your ads perform better and to make yourself rank better in Google generally.
Also, I would contribute that, do you use Google Search Console? Are you signed up for using Google Search Console?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so Google Search Console will show you all of the activity around your website from Google's perspective up to the point where somebody clicks on your link. So the stuff that happens in the search. Google Analytics is everything that happens after that. So Google Search Console can show you some of the keywords that your website is being shown for, which are called impressions. So it's good to have that, and it's fairly simple to set up, because then you can get some data around what you are being shown for. And if those are completely wrong, then you need to change some of your content to reflect what you should be showing up for.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never really understood the difference between Google Search Console and Google Analytics till you explained it. I thought they were just parallel services. But
no, Google Search Console used to be Webmaster Tools, and it was a very, very niche thing, and it used to be really helpful for SEO with some insights, and Google gave you a little reward for signing up to it. So there was all sorts of reasons. But what they've realized is actually they can separate these two things along that line of what happens on the search and then what happens on your website. And that's what those two services are. And they've coalesced into better and better tools. And they're adding tools and data all the time. Also, if you've got a problem, a technical problem with your website, and your website has slumped in the search results, if you're signed up to Google Search Search Console, they will give you an alert saying there is an error, or there is a problem, or this page isn't being shown, or there's some kind of technical problem. We quite often get emails from customers saying, what does this mean? And we can go in and fix the problem and ask Google to reconsider that page that problem has now been fixed with. So it is a very useful tool. And if you do have a website, I would absolutely urge you to sign up to it.
It is complicated though. There's so many bits to the Google empire and different tools you can use.
Yeah.
That it's not surprising that, you know, people get completely baffled. And I sometimes think Google quite likes it that way. You know, if you ring up Google and say, I want an ad campaign, they will happily set one up for you on the phone in 5 minutes. But, you know, we will spend, you know, at least 20 hours setting up a basic Google Ads campaign, because if you don't get it right from the outset, you've had it down the line. You have to get the setup right and the research right. So there's just no way someone in a call center can be doing that for you on the phone in an instant.
Karen, we're nearing the end and needs to just run through some housekeeping to wrap up. But are there any more questions whilst we have Karen here nailed to a seat? Does anybody have any questions that they might just want to ask her quickly?
Can I just ask one very quick one?
Yes, Keith.
Karen, on some of the adverts, I noticed that beside the website URL, it actually had a telephone number, but not on all of them. So is that something you pay extra for, or is it just something they're not setting up right? Or
yeah, so those are called ad extensions. And basically what you do, all Google ads have got the same basic core components. You will always set up a headline or a selection of headlines, a selection of descriptions, which are the longer pieces of text that appear underneath, and you will tell Google your URL. But then you also have a whole load of extensions, optional elements that Google can pick and choose from. And they will test those on ads to see if they increase the click-through rate, because remember, Google's making money from clicks. They want to do whatever they can to maximize the number of people who click. So there's lots of different ones. Phone numbers one. You can have location extensions that show your office and where it is, and Google would be more likely to show those if someone had typed a place name into their search. You have what are called site links, which is where you give people a choice of pages to go to. So it might say latest offer, contact us, about us. You know, people have a choice of pages, or you might list different services. There's a whole bunch of them. You can have promotions. So when we set up a Google Ads account, we don't just set up the core ad copy. We will also set up as many of those as are relevant to the business, so that Google has a really nice selection to pick and choose from. And then it's basically up to Google as to whether or not they show them or not. But you, if someone clicks through on your phone number or another element, one of those ad extensions, you still just pay once for the click.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Just one thing, if somebody sees your ad and sees the telephone number, they might just phone that number. So that can be really difficult to track, because obviously there's been no interaction with the ad, even though it's shown. So in those terms, you might think about a tracking telephone number that only shows on, if you're of a large campaign, you might use different tracking numbers to track which ads are firing. But for a smaller business, you might just use a completely different telephone number to your standard one, just to see how effective those ads might be, or you know, whether the telephone number in the ad is actually helping. But again, this is why you need to speak to someone like Karen, who can advise you and guide you and point you into ways that you can keep the money in your bank and not in Mr. Google's bank. Karen, I'm sure that we could spend another hour going through more and more in-depth around this. Could you just please remind people how they get in touch with you if they've got your worksheet? Has that got your contact details?
I think my details are on the bottom, hopefully. Yeah. We've got a bit of a tricky brand name. It's Ethos Metrics. The reason being Ethos because we're trying to be ethical, Metrics because we don't just do Google Ads, we do analytics and the whole kind of number tracking game. But yeah, ethosmetrics.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. It would be great if people would connect with me. Yeah, I'm actually on holiday for the next week, so by all means get in touch, but I can't meet immediately. But it would be great if anyone would like to have a catch up. I'm really happy to do that.
I would suggest that people book in some time with you for when that you get back, all refreshed with a clear mind and able to help them with some clarity.
Plus, if anyone does lose the information, it'll be on the members area where the talk and the workbook are kept. Her contact information will be at the bottom there for everyone. Okay.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Karen Young from Ethos Metrics for coming along today and sharing with us. Wonderful. Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry if I cut out at the end there. My internet connection was up the creek, as it is now, saying is unstable.
No problem. Just the final few things. As usual, we've got, oh, sorry, you're not seeing that. There we are. That's the gong that tells us that time has evaded us. We're all out of Google pay-per-click Google Ads information. If you want any more, speak to Karen. If you want to stay up to date with everything to do with small business and the current pandemic and all the situations, that's the URL, signalborden.org/newsflash. If you've got any questions, please do get in touch. If you're a guest, all of our guests have left us, but they will be receiving an email. Coming up next week, Mr. Gareth Turner, or his new nickname within Signal, Guitar Tuner, DIY Marketing Toolbox for Business Owners on a Budget. He will be taking you through ways to get started and simple tools to use to keep your budget down, but to have a bit of a DIY approach. So, Gareth, looking forward to that next week, really am. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we've got time for this week. Don't forget, it's Beer Friday. Lou, what time is Beer Friday?
It's 4:30 and it's post your pictures on the WhatsApp group or the BiZHUB members group on Facebook.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you then. It's been a fantastic session. Go, run away, make changes to your website and start to reap the rewards of implementing the information you've been given in this session. And we'll see you next week if we don't do a Zoom session beforehand. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Boom.
Brilliant.
Well done. Thank you,
Very
Karen. That was